Hey everyone, yeah, I was going to do this earlier, but I decided to rest a little bit. It's kind of raining on and off today, so when you look outside and you see dark clouds and everything, it kind of gets very dreary and such. So yeah, it makes you want to fall asleep, makes you want to really relax and just sleep, the day away. But I wanted to come on here because this news came out, and Clownfish TV, Neon at Clownfish TV did a video on it, and he and Geeky, but mostly Neon, have basically, both of them and individually, of course, that being Neon, like I said, have been talking about this kind of circumstance coming for a long time, and what it is, and let me kind of tell you what it is here. According to comicbook.com, I think it's comicbook.com, correct me if I'm wrong, but they state, and I quote, no, it's not comicbook.com, it's Bleeding Cool, it's bleedingcool.com, but they state, in a highlight, they state, IDW report, Diamond Bankruptcy leaves quote-unquote substantial doubt for future. And then it says, the auditor section of IDW's annual report expresses substantial doubt about its ability to continue as a growing concern. As a going concern, I guess. That's what it says. In wake of Diamond's bankruptcy. That's what it says. It says the auditor section of the auditor section of IDW's annual report expresses substantial doubt about its ability to continue as a going concern in wake of Diamond's bankruptcy. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, it means something potentially financially could come their way that doesn't, fit in their favor. But this is what they said. This was by Rich Johnson at Bleeding Cool. This is what he reported, and I quote, IDW Media Holdings just released annual investor report. Okay, let me reread that. This is from Rich Johnson. This is what he said, and I quote, IDW Media Holdings just released annual investors report includes a section that expresses substantial doubt on their ability to continue as a going concern, and it's all down to the uncertainty created by, and they put a link in the description, as well as highlighted, created by Diamond Comic Distributors issuing Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings. IDW quit being exclusively distributed by Diamond in 2021 and went exclusively with Penguin Random House, who then subdistributed to Diamond, as did Marvel, Dark Horse, Tokyopop, with Boom Studios to follow in April. But it appears that Penguin Random House intends to pass on any unpaid debt they have from Diamond to IDW, and possibly the other publishers as well. Penguin Random House is the biggest creditor for Diamond, to the tune of $9 million. And it seems that they may want IDW and the other publishers to make up those losses out of future earnings, which may explain Marvel's interest in the audit section of the report prepared by an independent auditor. It is noted that there is, quote, substantial doubt about the entity's ability to continue as a going concern, the entity being IDW, and stating PRH paid Penguin Random House, that is, PRH paid IDW for IDW products ordered by Diamond, and as a result of Diamond's bankruptcy, PRH may not be able to collect all of the corresponding amounts owed to PRH by Diamond. PRH has informally indicated to IDW that their understanding of the relevant terms of the contract between IDW and PRH provides that the significant majority of such uncollected amounts will be debited by PRH from future payments from PRH to IDW. IDW has not received any formal written communication or definitive claim from PRH. IDW cannot at this time assess the likelihood that PRH will seek to debt any amounts against future payments to IDW. The amount of any such potential debt or the timing of any such debts. Okay, let me read that. It says IDW cannot at this time IDW cannot at this time assess the likelihood that PRH will seek to debt any amount against future payments to IDW, the amount of any such potential debt, or the timing of any such debts. In other words, basically, they cannot really, this being IDW, they cannot assess, they cannot basically tell anybody outright, the amount of any potential debt or the timing of such debts that would have to be paid. That's what I'm getting here. It also goes on to say, and I quote, IDW is also making its own assessment of the relevant contractual language and the rights and obligations of the parties in respect of the current situation. In light of the foregoing, as of this date of the report, we are unable to determine the potential impact. However, it may have a significant negative impact on future financial results and cash position. The company will work to minimize any impact to the extent possible. And that's coming from IDW. It continues on, and I quote, as for the overall annual report, it notes that, quote, at October 31, 2024, we had cash of $7,432,000 in working capital, current assets in excess of current liabilities of $17,772. Again, this is what they said. This is IDW. This is what they reported of the annual report. It notes that at October 31st, 2024, we had, that being IDW, had cash of $7,432 and working capital of $17,772. Well, basically that's what it is. And that IDWP, the publishing portion of IDW Media Holdings, had a loss, quote, of operations of $1.4 million in year 2024, based on revenues of $26.4 million. This was an improvement over 2023's loss from operations of $3.9 million. In other words, they still suffered a loss, but it wasn't as bad. In other words, they were able to save $2.5 million in losses, if you will, or regain, whatever you want to call it. As for the immediate future for IDW and other publishers, expect those Penguin Random House contracts to be gone over with the smallest of pins. While other published contracts may contain different terms in regard to the situation, this may be why Marvel is seeking representation in the Diamond Bankruptcy proceedings. It may also be why Image has pulled out entirely from Diamond. It is possible that the subdistribution deals may not protect the publishers. And it continues on, or closes out by saying, IDW's annual report states that this situation, quote, may have a significant negative impact on our future financial results and cash position. But what about the other publishers? You can follow along with Bleeding Cool updates to the Diamond Bankruptcy story you won't find elsewhere by checking and updating the Diamond Bankruptcy tag. When we reached for comment, IDW replied with the following statement. This being Bleeding Cool, this is a comment Bleeding Cool got from IDW. This is IDW telling Bleeding Cool, we will be addressing all inquiries during upcoming earning calls on Monday, February 3rd, 2025. IDW's management will host this conference call beginning at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be 1:30 p.m. Pacific, specifically to engage in a Q&A session with participants. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know much about like bankruptcy situations and such. I haven't been through it myself, thank God. But basically, what it sounds like to me here is essentially IDW financially has to get their act together, with this all going on, because They, according to people like Neon and Clownfish TV, they financially have had potential to be a success, but have blown it, all away. They've basically flushed it all down the toilet, and now, they barely have any original IPs to publish and to get behind. Where most of their, I'm trying to find the right words to say, where most of their successes come from licensed IPs like Sonic, TMNT, you name it. Whatever licenses they have, that are currently, being published as comics and such, like Sonic, TMNT, and even MLP, basically they are basically reliant on them to make up the cost for what they have to probably pay back eventually. But does this mean IDW could be in the water going down, if you will? I don't think so. I think IDW has proven, just like some other publishers, IDW has proven that they can stay afloat. They can stay afloat, if not swim to shore, and basically survive. They've proven this time and time again. Yes, does this feel like, does this feel like it could be the final dagger in IDW's future? Yes, it does feel like that. But, be that as it may, I don't think they have much to worry about right now. What they're going to do come this conference call, during the conference call and before then, and even afterwards, is they're going to assess everything involved in this situation. Which means they're basically going to look at every detail they can, along with the other publishers that are probably hearing about this. They're going to look at every detail they can and basically come to the conclusion of what their next step is going to be. And if that next step means, unfortunately, they got to cancel, the licensing agreements with Hasbro, Nickelodeon, and Sega when it comes to the licensing comics, then unfortunately that's what they got to do. But hopefully they won't go down that, that aisle. They won't go down that path, if you know what I mean. But if that's the case, then they got to do it. But right now, the comics are actually selling very good. I mean, they just softly rebooted the TMNT comic. They're keeping it in the same continuity, but they're going in a different direction with it to kind of continue that continuity, but do it in a different way to where it's a soft, reboot and introduction of the characters, but it catches up fans to what's going on. Sonic is also one of the biggest sellers as well, when it comes to, the comic book, comes to comic book sales and everything. So through those titles, they can make up, some money. They can make up some finances. My Little Pony, it's still a decent seller from what I'm understanding, but not like where it used to be, but it's still there. And whatever other licenses they have, that's going to help them out as well. So I think, again, what they're going to do is they're going to assess, like, what will be the next direction. During the conference call and afterwards, they're going to assess, okay, where do we go from here? Because we know we're going to be getting a lot of this debt thrown in on us from, from Penguin Random House, from PRH. So where do we go from here, as an entity, as a publisher, as a company? Like, how do we, financially survive, but also keep our licensing deals for publication? These are going to be avenues they're going to look over, throughout the next few days, throughout the next few weeks and months. They're going to look it over. Now, again, if they do have to come to the conclusion that unfortunately they can't, publish, these comics anymore, the licensed ones, then unfortunately, once again, TMNT, just like with Archie, Sonic, just like with Archie, they're going to be ending on cliffhangers or ending, basically unexpectedly without, with any potential comic book future in doubt, because if they go down that route, the question is going to be who's going to pick up the licensing, the licensing publication-wise for Sonic, MLP, TMNT, and any other license they have. Because they do have the Disney license, I understand. I think they still have it. And they do have some licenses to classic characters like Rocky and Bullwinkle and such. So it's like, again, where do they go from here? Like what is going to be the next step for them going forward? And to me, that's something they're going to have to work out. Because let's be honest, do you think IDW really wants to give up the licensing agreements for some of the best-selling comics they have, based on two, if not three, of the most popular franchises and classic franchises they have? You think they want to do that? Heck no. I mean, if I'm IDW, I wouldn't. Because if I'm IDW, I try to figure out, okay, where do I go from here? What's the next step for me when it comes to basically, keeping myself afloat, keeping myself above water, as well as at the same time holding on to what I feel is the best bet for us to financially get back to relevancy as a publisher. That's what I would do if I'm IDW. But again, we'll find out. Now here's something I want to talk about as well. Let's say they do have to, unfortunately, give up the licensing publication-wise to Sonic, TMNT, MLP, and the other ones. The question is, what publishers outside of IDW would pick them up? Well, TMNT, I think, would more than likely end up in the same direction that a lot of the Hasbro properties that were not My Little Pony would, ended up in. I think they would end up with Skybound, which is a subdivision of Image. I think they would end up with Image under the Skybound publication. That's where I think they would end up. Same with My Little Pony. I think My Little Pony would end up under Skybound as well, but as its own entity and not part of any universe, if you know what I mean. Because they're doing that right now with G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is being published two ways by Skybound, as its own entity and as part of the Energon universe. But then what about Sonic? What happens to Sonic in the future? Well, the obvious answer would be maybe they go back to Archie, and perhaps Archie just continues what the stories that have been published in the IDW books, or maybe they decide, hey, let's just go and do what we did before, have two separate books, one based in the IDW universe, but one that continues off where we left off in the Archie universe. That might be what they do if they get Sonic. But then Sonic could also end up at Skybound as its own entity and not part of anything. That might happen too, and Skybound might continue where IDW left off. But we'll see. We shall see what happens. Some people are saying Sega should just publish the comic by themselves, but here's the problem. If Sega did that, then Sega would want to make sure that it's game-focused only, and that's it. You wouldn't get any of the story you're getting right now in IDW, nor any of the kind of story you got in Archie. So the idea of Sega publishing it, yeah, sounds good, but you wouldn't get what you got right now. So the honest question would be if one of the decisions they have to make is to forego these licenses, where do they go? And to me, like I said, I think Skybound is going to get TMNT if that happens, and I think they're going to get My Little Pony as well, but My Little Pony will be its own separate thing and not part of the Energon universe, although they could do that, but it would seem totally weird. But then again, IDW did the crossover between them and Transformers with Friendship in Disguise, or the Magic of Cybertron. So you never know. But I don't think Skybound would do that. I think they'd keep MLP as its own separate thing, and then TMNT would be its own separate thing, and they might, again, continue where IDW left off, or they might just decide to reboot the entire thing entirely and go off in their own direction. They might even decide, hey, we preferred the Archie direction that they were going with TMNT. Let's go there. They might decide that, but we'll see. And the same with Sonic. If Sonic, was to be let go and ends up basically, let's say, back at Archie Comics, they could go and say, we're going to do a Archie comic, Archie Sonic comic based on what was cliffhangered, but now we can continue. and we'll do one that's based in the IDW verse and all that, and continue the adventures there. They could do that, and I think a lot of fans would be appreciative of it. I think Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley and all the teams working on the comic would be appreciative of it if that happens. But if Sonic ends up at Skybound, he could either be rebooted, he could either have his adventures continued from Archie under Skybound or under IDW, or Skybound, like I said, might decide just to start anew with Sonic and say, hey, let's take the best of both worlds and make an amalgamation here under our umbrella. Easy for me to say, but that's something that might happen. We don't know, but we'll have to just have to wait and see. But we've always heard all this doom and gloom when it comes to IDW, and I think right now let's just let them kind of assess what they got to do, see what the next direction is going to be, and if it does result in them having to give up some licensed titles, hopefully it's not the ones that make them a lot of money. But if it is, well, got to do what you got to do. And if it means Sonic goes back to Archie or he goes to Skybound, if it means TMNT goes to Skybound, maybe to Archie, or maybe just back home to Mirage, we'll see. If it means My Little Pony goes to Skybound, we'll see. But let's just sit back and wait to see what the direction's going to be. When it comes to IDW, and because again, like I said, they gotta have time to assess. Okay, what is going to be the next step, and hopefully they'll give some answers during that conference call, which will be on Monday. It'll be on Monday, this Monday. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to talk about that here in this video, audio video that is. If you're watching on YouTube. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere, about this whole situation. What do you think the future is going to be for IDW going forward? Do you think they're going to have to give up these licenses? Do you think they'll be able to stay afloat and keep these licenses? What are your thoughts? Give me those in the comments as well as in the live chat. Also, like the video, guys. Ring the bell for notifications. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere. Click on the links where you can find me at all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Pandora, Spotify, Audible, Overcast. Anywhere there's a podcast, you'll probably find me there. Also, check me out at odyssey.com at BW Roses, rumble.com at BW Roses. Also, check me out at vimo.com at BW Roses. Click on the Venmo and Cash Apps there to help donate to the channel as well. And click on the Patreon link to follow me there at Patreon. Support me there. Also, click on the Teespring store link to find merchandise you can't get anywhere else. And also, guys, check me out. I am at twitter.com at BWRoses, also known as X. Check me out there, and check me out at Blue Sky as well. But, guys, give me your overall thoughts on the whole situation here with IDW. And until then, I am out.